Hey guys, Jeroogalo here. So I was thinking more about what a tragic thing it is that the Skywalker name is gone. The bloodline still exists in the form of Ben Solo, but depending on the fate of his character, that may end with him too. And although the blame for that falls with Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, unless the unthinkable happens and it's struck from canon, that's what it is. Canon. So what is J.J. Abrams to do? We already know without a doubt that his vision and Rian Johnson's visions were different. And there's proof of this in a recent interview involving Mark Hamill and Daisy Ridley, in which Mark Hamill was saying that originally, the ending of Episode 7 had him standing on the island surrounded by floating rocks, showing his immense power and connection with the Force. But Rian Johnson had him remove that to fit better with what he was doing with 8. Daisy Ridley even then admitted that, oh, that's weird, because that would have changed her whole story, or whatever. And that's exactly right. If Luke had been depicted as strongly connected with the Force in 7 as JJ had intended, it would have meant that his character was not some sad, disconnected old man, but was still a powerful Jedi Master, and Episode 8 would not have been possible that way, at least not the Luke parts. And so that's why Rian Johnson had him take that part out, because there's no pre-made plan for a trilogy here. It's just individual people making their own movies, in the case of 8, writing it before even seeing the finished version of Episode 7. You're just making individual movies and having the next person deal with tying it all together. But that also means the next person can completely change what you were trying to do. It's almost like two people wrestling over the legacy and future of Star Wars, tearing the fandom apart. And eventually, the anger may subside, who knows, but that doesn't mean they'll stop being disappointed about the decisions that were made. Because you gotta remember, in the minds of some fans, these aren't just movies, it's something they devoted a large part of their lives to, watching, reading, playing, researching, making content for. And they have just such an understanding of the way things are, and then some stranger just comes in and disrupts everything. And yeah, if you weren't doing all that and just going to see a movie as a movie, then sure, it may not bother you. But it does genuinely bother a lot of people. But I digress. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to consider what J.J. Abrams will do now. Now that the Skywalker name is gone, either he'll leave it that way and just let Luke do whatever training he's going to do with Rey from Beyond the Beyond, or he won't, and Rey'll keep not being trained. Or what if Luke wasn't the last of his name? What if Luke had a kid and he was one of the students in his Jedi Academy? So imagine, Luke's kid, let's call him Cole Skywalker, Jedi Padawan of the new Jedi Order, is sleeping in his quarters after a long day of training. As the dark side clouded his vision, he didn't see what Kylo Ren was planning, and by the time he heard the destruction going on, it was too late. He was buried under rubble, ankle in pain, ribs bruised. By the time he managed to free himself, all he saw were bodies all around. Knowing he was overpowered, especially since everyone around him appeared dead, and likely his father Luke as well, he fled to safety. We come to Luke in the scene where we see him seeing his destroyed temple for the first time. Luke frantically checks for any other survivors, finding none. Even his own son, as far as he could tell, was destroyed. He remembers Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, burned by the dark side. And now his son, joining them? Again, he falls to his knees. If Luke had been the embodiment of hope through the next generation for Obi-Wan, then Cole had been that for Luke. Luke was successful, yes, but through his son he placed so much hope to finish what he started. To continue the legacy of the Jedi and keep peace in the galaxy. And of course, he loved him. That was his son. He tried to steel himself, meditate in the light side of the Force, keep his composure. But he struggled. There was a hole in him now. His son was dead. His academy destroyed. As did the Jedi before him, he failed. He was unable to stop the dark side, and they purged all but the last of the Jedi once again, under his watch. Like his master before him, his beloved Padawan turned to the dark side and destroyed the Order. So like his master, there was nothing to do but go into exile. Unlike him, though, his would not be one for awaiting a new hope to emerge. His would be to end it all. To end this cycle of light, dark, he'd had enough. Offering the galaxy hope, then failing and losing everything, he'd had enough. Being the legendary Luke Skywalker, one who would take care of everyone in the galaxy, but wasn't even able to take care of his own home, he'd had enough. The Force was real and powerful and surrounds all living things. But the Jedi could not do what they were expected to do. The Jedi should serve the Force. The Force doesn't serve the Jedi. The Jedi, ultimately, do more harm than good. He'd had enough. And that's when he goes off to Ahch-To to die. Of course, you guys know my position. I would love it if 99% of The Last Jedi weren't even canon, especially in the direction they went with Luke. But for the sake of considering what JJ could do now, if he wanted Luke to have a kid, I think this is an interesting tie-in. From here, after hearing word that Luke appeared on Crate, his son Cole came out of hiding, having been training, knowing he was now the last of the Jedi, and the only one left who could continue his father's and the Jedi Order's legacy. He meets up with the New Republic, ready now to help. He then finds Rey and learns of her new path to become a Jedi. Having more training than her, he offers to be her Jedi Master. From here, it depends on if he was a knight at this point or not. Even if he wasn't, however, he could still train her similarly to how Kanan Jarrus trained Ezra Bridger in Rebels. That wouldn't even greatly get in the way with Rey being the main protagonist, as Ezra is the main protagonist in Rebels, yet him having a young master doesn't take away from him at all. One other option is if Luke's son is younger, perhaps Rey's age. They could continue to learn the ways of the Force together, perhaps even eventually get married, and that is how the Skywalker name lives on. Not only that, but now the blood of Skywalker and the blood of Rey are together. Imagine how powerful in the Force the children could be. But yeah, guys, that's just a couple of ideas on how JJ could write it in if he really wants Luke to have a kid. I think him having a kid would really help people who disagree with how he was written deal with the fact that he's gone. We can project him onto his son, consider it him living on besides as a Force ghost. But what do you guys think? Do you like this idea? Is there another way this could work? Comment down below. I really appreciate every comment. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Jeroogalo, and may the Force be with you, always.